All right, we'll be live. Guys, the internet situation in Iran is horrible. The regime has shut down the internet completely, almost completely. Some people have Starlink, but it's really hard to get information outside of Iran right now. Me and my brothers finally managed to get in touch with my brother, with my father in Tehran. So we finally know that he's okay, he's safe. So, and also I know a lot of people were worried about my dad as well in the audience. So you guys are very kind. Thank you for that. But my dad in Tehran, he's fine. We finally managed to get in touch with him. But the regime is very interesting because Israel is trying to get information to the Iranian people so that they could stay safe, and the regime is shutting down the internet so they don't get the information they need to remain safe, which is unbelievable. Hey, Bardo is here. Bardo saying so happy for you. Thank you, Bardo. Oh, by the way, let me actually make it very clear what the hold on, like I forgot to add something at the very at the on the banner so that people it's important when we do this format, when people come here they know exactly what we're talking about. So I'll add this at the very top. Yeah, so as soon as somebody drops here they know. Yeah, so yeah, Ash is saying glad to know he's all right. Yeah, guys, thank you. The GK is saying thank God on this atheist channel. So but thank you guys, that's sweet. um Yeah. So, by the way, let me actually, before people jump in, let me actually go over some things that I wanted to highlight, and then I'll keep reading your comments and responding to them. But really quickly, I need to give you these information because this is insane. So, Israel is doing everything it can to try to help the Iranian people, to warn the civilians before the attacks. Israel is using official IDF spokespeople who speak Persian or Farsi to warn people before they strike. For example, they posted messages on social media. They have spokespeople coming out and explaining the details. They tell people where to leave certain areas. Like they give the information of where the next strikes are going to be, where the military bases are, where the nuclear sites are. A lot of the military bases are hidden, and a lot of Iranians don't know that they're living right next to a military site. So Israel is trying to inform them to try to get them to leave those areas. There are many IRGC facilities that are being targeted, and it's amazing how much Israel actually cares about trying to reduce civilian casualties, because informing the Iranian people regarding where the next strike is going to happen is a disadvantage to Israel itself, because they lose the element of surprise. But they're still doing it. They're still letting the Iranian people know, even though it might be a military disadvantage for them to do so, which shows how much they care. The level of care that Israel is showing for Iranian people is basically something that the Iranian people never experienced from the regime in Iran, from the Islamic Republic itself. And by the way, you have to understand what Israel is doing is very unusual in war, and it's above and beyond anything that is required based on international law. Again, another proof that the IDF, that Israel's military, is the most moral army in the whole world. Like no other army comes even close. And yet, this is the army that everybody accuses of being committing genocide and killing innocent lives, which is so the opposite of what reality is. Yeah, exactly. Karen in the chat is saying because Israel wants to free the Iranian people. Exactly. That's what I. Yeah. So, but the opposite. So yeah, this is very unusual in war. It shows that Israel's army is trying to protect civilians even when attacking inside Iran. However, let's look at the opposite. Uh, but actually, let me before we go to the opposite. We go to the opposite. We go to what the regime is doing instead. There are, other than trying to protect the civilians, the Israel's army is actually going out of its way at targeting uh, institutions and bases that are specifically focused on suppressing the Iranian people. So the Israeli army is going, even I thought they're going to do this later, but even right now they're going out of their way to take out bases that is not a threat to Israeli people, but are threats to Iranian people. Let me repeat that because this is very important for you to understand. The Israeli army is spending time and resources right now inside Iran to go target bases that are not necessarily a threat to Israelis, but are a threat to Iranian people. This shows a lot of support for Iranian people by Israel. They're weakening the regime's protest suppression system. So here's how they're disabling the regime's tools for crushing people. They're destroying Basiji bases. Again, remember, Basiji bases, these are not, that has nothing to do with missiles or rockets or anything. They're not rocket launchers. This has nothing to do with the regime's nuclear capabilities. The Basij bases are a protest suppression system up against the Iranian people. And Israel is spending a lot of resources going and targeting them right now, which shows a lot of support for Iranian people. It's so sad right now that I'm doing more English streams because I can't do my Persian channel streams because the internet is cut in Iran, so I cannot reach the Iranian people the way I used to be able before. And I hope more Iranian people right now that they're under fire right now. I hope like in Tehran and other cities, because Tehran is being targeted the most, I think, right? I hope Iranian people, more of them, understand how much Israel is doing for them right now. It's hard to get this information to them right now, right? So they're destroying Basiji bases. The Basij are the regime's street thugs, basically. They are the ones who usually don't even wear a uniform. They are the ones who go into the streets. They beat people. They arrest people. They intimidate protesters. So on June 20th, I think Israel reportedly bombed a major Basiji base in Tehran. Thank you, Israel. Appreciate that. This makes it harder for the regime to deploy these forces quickly. So what I'm hoping to see is once some of these bombardments stop, I hope we see people show up into the streets in mass protests. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I hope to see that happening as soon as some of the bombardments are ends, because the regime is being weakened. The problem is right now is that we still see, even with bombing some of these Basij bases, I have seen reports from inside Iran that there are like a heavy presence of security officers in the streets. Like the situation is very tense, and there are a lot of Basij and other armed forces ready to attack the protesters. So it's very intimidating right now. So even though the regime has been paralyzed when it comes to threatening Israel at the moment, but the problem is that they still are very capable of attacking their own people. So I hope we continue to see the weakening of the regime by Israel so that more Iranians get to come into the streets at some point. But obviously, they're not going to come right now, given that bombs are falling out of the sky. It's not a good time to come right now. But hopefully, we get to see the regime weakened enough that it would be easy peasy for the Iranian people to come back to basically overtake their streets and take down the government. Right. So this makes it harder for the regime, to deploy the forces quickly because they're taking out all these Basiji bases and stuff like that. Right. So also we saw attacking the law enforcement command and intelligence headquarters. Israel has been hitting command centers. For example, the Ministry of Intelligence and Security and the Law Enforcement Command of Iran. These groups, they spy on people, they organize a riot police and control the crackdown system. Bombing these headquarters scrambles communication and leadership. They also are assassinating top IRGC officials. This is good for both the Israeli people, and the Iranian people. So Israel has killed IRGC intelligence chief Kazemi, which is, oh my god, that's fantastic, by the way. One of the main figures overseeing protest crackdowns. These are the people who were responsible for all the crimes against the Iranian people. So it's beautiful to see them being taken out one by one by The IDF, yeah. Bardo in the chat is saying thank you, IDF. I very much agree. Kazemi being taken out was beautiful, by the way. I also heard Taib was taken out recently. I don't know if that has been confirmed or not. The previous one of the previous heads of intelligence. Taking out key figures like him disrupts the regime's ability to coordinate the repression. They're bombing regional IRGC bases. Again, regional IRGC bases, these are local groups that control the protests. Israel is also targeting IRGC bases outside of Tehran, especially in places like Khuzestan, Luristan, where many protests happen. These bases usually send troops to crush unrest. Destroying them protects protesters in similar cities. Cyber attacks on regime communications is also happening. Israel-backed hackers are jamming or destroying the systems that allow the regime to give orders to its security forces. They're also they've also disrupted payment systems. Without money or orders, riot police and besieged units can't operate properly. And yeah, they're also taking out radar systems, which makes it more difficult for them to communicate. But this is all the services that the IDF is doing for the Iranian people. However, on the other hand, we have the Iranian regime shutting down the internet. And by the way, do you guys they're giving the excuse. So how many days has it been since the internet has been shut down? Are we on day 4 now? Which is very long. We had this before in Bloody Aban. Like the Iranian regime had tried this before. The last time the internet was cut for this long in Iran, the regime killed 1,500 of its own citizens. They basically started shooting their own citizens. 1,500 of them died. But right now the internet is cut, and we don't know. And some Iranians are worried that with this blackout, with the lack of information coming out from inside of Iran because of the internet being cut, some Iranians are worried that what if the regime starts killing more of its own citizens to try to increase the civilian casualty so that they could blame it on Israel, because they have done that before, right? And they have proven to when it comes for political gains or for security reasons, the regime in Iran has targeted the Iranian people just to get the upper hand in propaganda or security. So, for example, the Ukrainian flight that they took out with all the Iranian citizens in there, they just did that just to save their own asses. So they do that before. Yeah, somebody saying that's another Cinema Rex 2.0. Yeah, they might do that. Actually, you're right. That's another example. Cinema Rex, the Ukrainian flight. So without the world being able to see completely what's happening in Iran, it's fair to be concerned that the regime might actually kill civilians in an explosion or something, and try to get a lot of civilian casualties, and then say this was Israel's doing. Yeah. By the way, the longer United States stays out of this, the more civilians are going to die. Right? So, and the more Israeli civilians, and the more. So right now, if you see in Israel civilians dying or in Iran civilians dying, the casualties on both sides when it comes to civilians could be reduced significantly if United States just comes and helps Israel sooner. So I don't know. Do you guys think it's an exaggeration to say that right now civilians dying in Israel or in Iran, Trump not coming in and supporting Israel, part of those innocent people dying could be blamed on Trump not entering into this war earlier? I don't know if that's a. Do you guys think that's helpful thing to say, or is that an exaggeration? I'm willing to take criticism on all of this. Like, if you guys think that's the unfair way, because that's how I'm seeing it right now. So, angry keyboard warrior saying we just want the U.S. for Fardo or other stuff too. I mean, we need a U.S. for Fardo, but when it comes to once, we would let we want more. I mean, that's we want more than that. We need U.S. for Fardo, but if when it comes to once, remember, United States has so much stronger, when it comes to air dominance, as amazing as Israel has been, the capability of Israel being able to maintain this level of air superiority could will it would be exhausted very fast. This is very expensive, a very resource tense situation for Israel, and United States will be able to maintain. United States will be able to do as much as amazing as Israel has been. United States will be able to do so much more in so much less time, and even maintain it for much longer. The power of United States military and their air force is so much stronger than anyone else. So, if this whole process it was supposed to take 20 days, if United States was coming here and supporting Israel with full force, it would be less than half of that. If it was supposed to take 1 week, it would take 3 days. If it's supposed to be 2 weeks, it would be 1 week. So yeah, we need United States for Fardo, but if it's about what we want, I mean, we should be expecting full support. United States is Israel's ally, and Israelis are dying right now with the Islamic Republic's missiles, and United States is nowhere to be seen. Israeli soldiers have died for the sake of killing not just Israel's enemies but United States enemies right now as well. But now that Israelis are dying, Israeli civilians are dying, Trump is talking about I'll get back to you in 2 weeks. I mean, that is pathetic. Honestly, that is pathetic. What kind of an ally is that? Oh, is this a real Sam? Sam is saying, is this the real Sam? I don't know if that's the real Sam. Sam Rajabi is saying, do you think they have plans for after killing Khamenei? I hope their plan is Reza Pahlavi. Which is something I wanted to talk to you guys on this show as well. I hope the plans is I hope Israel and United States, because I'm pretty sure they're discussing for plans after Khamenei. I hope they're all focusing on Reza Pahlavi. There's no other alternative. There's nothing else. People in the chat are saying free Palestine again, which again, we completely agree with that statement, but we just adjusted it a little bit. We say free so-called Palestine because there's no such thing as Palestine. Free so-called Palestine from Hamas, from Islam, and support Israel because they're the ones who are freeing so-called Palestine. Wow. Wow, the anti-Israeli people in the chat are back again in the chat. Guys, please make sure you respond to it. So the regime in Iran, they have said that they cut the internet, and this is what's being reported right now all over the media, and people are buying it, which is we need to be responding to that because this is a crime, guys. Cutting the internet so that people don't get the information that they need, that's actually a crime. That's actually a crime under international law. But a lot of Western media is just reporting the lines by the Islamic Republic without sometimes without the clarification. So the claim by the Islamic Republic is that they shut down the internet to stop Israeli cyber attacks and to prevent panic from enemy propaganda. Basically, they're talking about shows like mine on Persian on our Persian channel. right? So let's look at these claims and why they are BS. So cutting the internet is not going to stop cyber attacks. Israeli cyber attacks target the regime's internal systems like military and banking infrastructure. Turning off mobile data and home internet for ordinary people does nothing to stop those cyber attacks. And again, this is not me saying this. This is based on experts. If you go to listen to every expert talking about this, they're saying like, yeah, this has nothing to do with cyber attacks. Again, turning off mobile data and home internet. This has the if your cyber attacks targets a different thing. I see the super chat. I will respond to the super chat soon. They have internal systems for that. This is not doesn't happen. Okay. So the regimes, by the way, if the internet had anything to do with the cyber attacks, like mobile data and home internet, then why is it, get this, why is it that the regime's own internet still works? So if you're trying to stop cyber attacks on the regime's systems, then why does like go right now in Iran? All the people who work with the regime, they have access to internet. If you wanted to stop cyber attacks on the regime, those would be the ones that you need to be stopping. Yes. I will get a second super chat. I will respond to that soon after I get to these points. And then the other argument that they give is stopping the panic. That's just code for censorship. If they really cared about public safety, they would actually share helpful information, not block it. Israel is the one that is posting Farsi language warnings, telling civilians where to not to go. Do you guys understand that right now in Iran, Iranians are basically trying to get messages, are tuning into what Israel is saying? Iranians trying to find safety and security, everybody is waiting to see what Israel has to say. Imagine living in a country where your regime is trying to cut down information and the citizens, the civilians of your country are trying to listen to the attacking country regarding what they should be doing next. Iranians are they're waiting on Israeli news. They trust Israel, the attacking nation, with regards to the information that they're receiving on how to get to safety, and their own government is are trying to block them from getting that information. This is unreal. Has this ever happened in history before? My God, this is amazing. Yeah, so cutting the internet blocks all these warnings, and they're putting innocent lives at risk. The regime is basically trying to save itself by shutting the internet, instead of and doesn't care about what happens to the people. The reason why the regime is cutting the internet is because they want to control the narrative. So the real reason why the internet is cut is because they're trying to stop protest from spreading, so people can't organize or share meeting points. They want to hide the evidence. No videos of regime violence can get out. That's number two. The third reason why the internet is cut not right now in Iran is because they want to control what people see. They want to have only regime approved lies that are broadcasted on state TV. By the way, thank you, Israel, for targeting the state TV, Sado Sima. A lot of Iranian people were asking for that, and then the IDF did that, which was incredible. So, by the way, without the internet, we have airstrike warnings, and with the internet, civilians would see where to move safely. Well, now without the internet, they can't. We have injured people. With the internet, we can help the injured people. You can call for help or reach the medics. Now, injured people without the internet, they have less access to help. can't get help in time, more people will die. It's hard. People are trying to find safe roads with the internet. People would share updates on roadblocks or bombings, but now without the internet, drivers walk into danger blindly. And also with the hospitals, with the internet, they can ask the public or outside help for supplies. And now without the internet, no way to get urgent medical items. So guys, this is why it's right now very important to keep following Reza Pahlavi, okay? Because the Iranian people have been silenced right now because we can't hear their voices as much as before because the internet is cut. But the voice of the Iranian people is Reza Pahlavi, is Prince Reza Pahlavi outside of Iran. He speaks. He's the loudest voice that speaks on behalf of the Iranian people, the most Iranian people. So it's very important to follow Reza Pahlavi on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and just listen to what he has to say because he is the voice of the Iranian people. Let me look at the super chats. But before I look at the super chats, Laurie here is saying, Armin, once this is done, what are the best places to visit in Iran as a tourist? It's amazing that you're already making plans. I like your optimism. Okay. I like your optimism. Well, I would be biased because I'm half Shirazi, so I would say you need to go to Shiraz. Um, Shiraz has so much to offer, but honestly, Esfahan has so much to offer as well. Oh my god, yeah, Esfahan. You know what? Shiraz first, Esfahan second. Honestly, I should say Esfahan first, but because I'm half Shirazi, I'm biased. But we could talk about that later. This is not the time. But I like your optimism. Yeah. By the way, I mentioned at the beginning of the. Oh, Parsa in the chat is saying in Karaj net. Well, let me actually see this. So Parsa in the chat is saying اینجا کرج نت برگشت آرمین. پارسا فقط کرج نت برگشته یا جاهای دیگه هم نت برگشته؟ Oh, okay, like yeah, some people agree with me. Shiraz first, Esfahan second. Guys, are there Iranians in the chat? Let me know. Is the internet? Where else has the internet? Because I need to hop on the Persian channel and start doing live streams in Persian as soon as I see the internet is back. Yeah, somebody Shiraz to return to wine production. I hope so. Actually, that would be good for business. Okay, let me actually respond to the super chat. Somebody, some idiot in the chat. Hold on, where was that? Let me see. This person, like some people, so you're not from Iran. This person, some people, some anti-Israelis, they hate the fact that Iranians are supporting Israel this much. So then they want to, when Iranians are supporting Israel in such high numbers, they want to deny the reality that we're even Iranians. خارق ما رو قهوه من اگه ایرانی نیستم چجوری دارم اینجوری ایرانی بهت فوش میدم okay all right let me actually all right let's actually look at the super chats. Merchant Recha saying any update on the earthquake? Yeah, I heard about that. We don't know what that was. A lot of people, because there was an earthquake happened that at a place that it could have potentially been a nuclear test. So a lot of people are worried that maybe the regime is so desperate that they're doing a nuclear test right now. So it hasn't been confirmed yet. If it gets confirmed, I will follow up on that, right? But so let me actually say, any update on the earthquake? Personal opinion: USA helping Israel with firepower is a good idea, but USA directly getting involved. ISIS happened. Have faith. Israel will do it with or without USA. Okay, so yes, Israel will do it with or without USA. The problem is the cost. Without USA, the cost to Israel and the Iranian people would be much higher. I do believe Israel is capable of doing this without the United States. I do believe that. However, with the United States, there would be less civilian casualties. There would be less infrastructure destruction on both sides. So the question is, do we want this to be done with less Israelis dying and less Iranians dying? Then United States helping would be so helpful. So I do agree with you that Israel is capable of doing this with the United States, but it would be better if United States was involved. But USA so USA directly getting involved. You're saying talking about ISIS. That's a different situation, and USA made it. So here's the thing: that was USA getting involved with Iraq was not a bad idea. What was a bad idea was dismantling the Ba'ath Party, and basically anybody that had removing anybody that had any role in that party from the government, and basically causing chaos and instability after fall of Saddam. That was the reason why we had ISIS and instability for so many years after the fall of Saddam. But getting involved, removing Saddam was a good idea. And now in hindsight, you can see that things are getting better in Iraq. The only reason why it took so long was United States made the mistake of completely dismantling that party and not letting anybody with any membership in that party to get involved in the new government. That was the reason. And also, Iran is very different from Iraq because Iranian people are much more secular minded. They're much more liberal minded. They're much more democratic minded. And they already have a prince called Reza Pahlavi, who, with a team, with a plan on how to fill in the vacuum after the regime falls. And the values and the methods and the principles that the Iranian people have, it makes us a lot more optimistic about what could come after the regime falls. And also, when we say when we want United States involved, we don't want United States involved with boots on the ground in Iran like we saw in Iraq. That's not the level of involvement we're talking about. It's just basically more air power. That's basically it, with no boots on the ground. The boots on the ground that we want is the Iranian people. All we need Israel and United States to do is to weaken the regime to the point where the Iranian people could do the rest of the work themselves. That's what we want. By the way, guys, there's a lot of people in watching this, so please make sure that you like the stream. It's important that you like the stream because there's a lot of anti-Israeli propaganda right now being spread all over social media. So whenever you see somebody defending Israel right now, make sure don't just like this stream, but like anybody when you watch a stream that is supporting Israel right now and actually representing the true voice of the Iranian people, don't forget to like the stream so that YouTube amplifies their voices. But okay, so also regarding the earthquake, it is worrisome if it's actually a nuclear test. We'll see where the update goes from there. And thank you again for the super chat. MT, thank you. MT, thank you so much for the super chat. Saying consensus I've heard is USA not going to get involved unless we see uprising. Iranians need to make a decision. Maybe ask IDF for safe zone to protest, but it looks like they're squandering the chance. No, right now it's not a good time for them to come out. Right now, I mean, you can't. Right now, Israel is telling them to evacuate cities. Okay, so you cannot ask the Iranian people to evacuate the cities and then also show up into the streets and protest at the same time. Like those are contradictory asks, right? So what we need now is to focus on weakening the regime, and then like this could take weeks, and then until we should hope for the Iranian people to come into the streets once the regime is completely paralyzed. Remember, the Iranian people have been very brave, and they have come into the streets time and time and again, and they have paid the heaviest prices for it. They have paid. They have been like even the bravest Iranians who don't care about dying for the regime has managed to scare them with other tools. For example, with rape, and also threatening their families. The regime has noticed how brave so many Iranians have been, so they have used rape as a weapon of war against the Iranian people. And I'm talking like arresting, like actual sexual assault after arrest, both men and women, because a lot of Iranians who don't fear death, they actually fear that. So also they've noticed that even if they fear death, if even if they don't fear death, they do fear the regime attacking their families for their protest. So, and the regime has the only thing that the regime has managed to master is the art of suppressing their own people. Okay, they're weak against everyone else. They're weak against the United States, Israel, or any other enemies that they have. But they have been but the Iranian people have been consistent in showing up to the streets. But given the regime has proved to them that every time they came into the streets, it didn't actually result in the toppling of the regime. The Iranian people, it makes no sense for them to try it again unless the regime is completely paralyzed. And right now, as we speak, the regime has been paralyzed only when it comes to threatening Israel, uh, by, like, still not paralyzed because they're still throwing missiles at Israel and killing Israelis, unfortunately. But they have been weakened significantly when it comes to throwing missiles at Israel. But the regime still has the upper hand when it comes to attacking their own people. So we need to eventually get to a phase where hopefully Israel is focusing on dismantling the regime's ability to suppress their own people, and only then, after all the bombardments have stopped on the streets in Iran, especially Tehran, only then we could expect the Iranian people to come out into the streets. Right now, it's not the right time. Yeah, and also I wish the Iranians were armed. Like, do you guys understand that the regime is very armed and the Iranian people are not armed? I don't know if there would be a good strategy to figure out how to get Iranian people armed, maybe. Somebody saying Israel won't do that. Well, Israel has already done that. I mentioned at the beginning. We just need more of it. Um. So somebody just became, somebody with 1 month membership. How do you pronounce it? Satiric talks. So using their 1 month membership, saying woman life freedom Zanzan Azadi. Yeah, and also Mad Mihan Abadi as well. On top of that, thank you for that. Nilufar is saying why Western media have negative views on Reza Pahlavi. Actually, Western media is warming up to Reza Pahlavi these days. Okay, they used to buy the regime's propaganda that Iranian people saw the former Shah as a dictator, as an evil dictator, and they see his son as a continuation of that. That was the regime propaganda that they used uh, their lobbyists like Nayak in the West to spread that propaganda, and a lot of Western media used to buy that. But now, more and more Western media is realizing that actually Reza Pahlavi is very popular among the Iranian people, um, and and that and they're talking to him, and they're like, he's being invited like left and right on Western media as the voice that needs to be listened to. It used to be other people that they would invite. It used to be Masih Alinejad and Nayak. And guys, also Masih Alinejad is no longer a voice to be trusted anymore. She's turned anti-Pahlavi, so don't trust Masih Alinejad anymore. Uh, only when it comes to the opposition, the vast majority of Iranian people, they want Reza Pahlavi to speak for them. Okay, so just focus on Reza Pahlavi. And Nayak is obviously a regime lobby tool. So the institution that you could also the institution that backs Reza Pahlavi in United States is called Nufti, NUFTI. So Reza Pahlavi and Nufti are the institution, are the groups that you need to listen to, are the people and the groups that you need to listen to. Nayak is the regime's um, media arm and lobby arm in the United States. So don't trust Nayak and don't trust anyone else. Okay, just Reza Pahlavi and any organization that supports him. and he's now getting more he's now getting invited more than anyone else. It used to be like Masih Ali-Najad or Nayak, but now it's just Reza Pahlavi. I'm seeing him everywhere, which is fantastic. Okay, let's see. We got this. Give us a $10 super chat saying prayers for the safety of the people of Iran and the people of Israel. Praying for you, Armin, so that you can reach your family inside Iran soon. King Reza Pahlavi, Jews stand with Iranians. I appreciate the sentiment. Okay, I'm an atheist, so I don't believe in the power of prayer, but I do believe in the power of kindness. Okay, so when people say pray for this, pray for that, even though I'm an atheist and I don't think prayer does anything, I do see that as a kind, um, a beautiful, kind, gesture, and appreciate the kind words. So that, as an atheist, I still appreciate it because uh, prayer might not do anything, but kindness does, and that's a kind message. So I appreciate that. Yes, and you say Jews stand with Iranians. Well, Iranians also stand with Israel. Most Iranians do. Okay, the Israel and the anti-Israelis in the chat are amazing. I will respond to the anti-Israelis in the chat if I get time as soon as I finish with the super chats. Oh, we got more super chats. Uh, okay, so let me see. John is saying IRGC back parties made everything worse for Iraq. Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, so it was also because yes, and a lot of the instability in Iraq after the fall of Saddam is the fault of the Islamic Republic as well. So if when you feel like, oh, regime change doesn't help here or doesn't help here because of the instability, well, the instability, all of the instability will become significantly less if the Islamic Republic was not empowered to fuel all of this instability. So the regime change that will end the need for all regime changes would be to do regime change in Iran right now. Guys, make sure you like the stream. It's important that you like the stream so that more people end up seeing it. Thank you for that. There's a lot of people here. I appreciate that. Okay, and also Graham with the super chat saying Iran needs a second amendment once this is all over. Well, whatever Iran needs when it comes to their laws, we will decide that um after if free and fair elections. So we will, yeah, again, we will see. Okay, so I'm not worried. Once we're free from the Islamic Republic, whatever laws we need, we will decide that as you know we have a lot of debates regarding. I don't know what we're going to need regarding to laws, right? Because I'm not worried about Iran going back to dictatorship anymore. So I don't know if we're going to need something like that. Um, because the Iranian people are so democratic minded, liberal minded, free speech minded, secular minded that I think this will be the end of dictatorship in Iran forever. So I'm not really worried about going back to dictatorship, given the attitude that Iranian people have towards freedom, and they're just tired of oppressors ruling over them. So I'm not worried about that much. But you might be right. We might be needing that, but we will figure that out once the regime falls, and we would elect our members of parliament, and they will, as elected officials of the people, they will decide what laws we need. Yeah, let me actually start this comment as well. We got another super chat from John saying, "Is Susie okay?" By the way, yeah, Susie is great. Susie sometimes shows up in here. Once all of this chaos is over, we might do I want to do a stream. Susie and I want to do a stream where we hang out and just chill with you guys and talk with you guys. So right now things are chaotic, but very soon, Susie and I are just gonna do a chill hangout stream with you guys. We wanted to do that for a while. So yes, Susie is okay. By the way, these woke rights are basically just what mount. I don't know what that is. Waiting global anti-Semitic Islamic cliques. Anyways, as a liberal, Javid Shah. Wait, what is he saying? John, when I don't have Susie here next to me, some of your message, like Susie understands your messages better than me. So when I'm here, try to make it more clear what you're talking. Like make it more easier for me to understand because Susie decodes your messages better than ever can. What is basically just I don't know what you're saying. So please make it easier for me to understand. Oh, schemers. Okay. They're schemers. Yes, they. Yeah. I don't know what you said, but it seems like anti. Well, yeah, we should do more streams against the Tucker Carlsons right now of the world because the woke right is getting a lot of momentum online right now. So we need to do more shows against them. Somebody in the chat is saying America first. Yeah, America first means that you should be supporting your greatest allies, which includes Israel. America first means that you do not support isolationism, which makes America weak. America first means that you recognize that the presence of United States all over the world has made United States and the world a much better place. That's what America first should mean. We got another super chat from Mosey. Mosey saying, "Where is Hossein Khomeini, grandson of Khomeini, these days? He hates the Islamic Republic more than anybody. Can we get the people some start like okay? Hossein Khomeini doesn't hate the Islamic Republic. He's a reformist. We don't trust the reformists. The reformers are worse than the hardliners in Iran. He doesn't hate the Islamic Republic. He hates. He might be hating the current people in power in the Islamic Republic. He wants to take the Islamic Republic back to the version. So, guys, there are don't be careful about this. Okay, do not trust any of the reformers, including Hossein Khomeini or anyone else within the regime. Right. So let me tell you the three tiers of regime supporters. Okay, there are people within Iran who support the 1979 Islamic Revolution, who support Khomeini taking power after the 1979 revolution, and they support Khamenei today. Basically, full support. Then there are people who support the revolution of 1979, the Islamic Revolution of 1979. They also support Khomeini taking power after the revolution, but they don't like Khamenei. And they think Khamenei ruined everything. But they still support Khomeini, and they also support the revolution happening. Okay, that is most of the many of the reformers today. We don't like these people. They are still in agreement with this 1979 Islamic Revolution, and they still are in agreement with Khomeini. Just because they're anti-Khamenei, that doesn't make them good people. They are evil people. We do not want them. And then there's a third group of people who do not support Khamenei, who do not support Khomeini. They think Khomeini ruined the revolution, but they still think that the 1979 Islamic Revolution was a good idea. They're anti-Pahlavi, they're anti-Israeli. They still think that the 1979, the anti-Pahlavi uprising of 1979 Islamic Revolution was a good idea that was ruined by Khomeini. We don't like those people either. All of these three groups of people, they're horrible people. They are evil. You should not trust any of them. We call all three groups of these people Panjo Hafti, because Panjo Haf is the year 1357 is the year in the calendar of the Persian calendar where all of the 1979 Islamic Revolution happened. So we call them the 57s, 57 somethings. I don't know how to translate that into English, right? But we have a name for all these three groups, and we hate all of them, and we trust none of them. And the best way to recognize because a lot of the opposition might be opposition against Khamenei, but they're good with Khomeini. And some of the opposition might be against Khamenei and Khomeini, but they're still in support of an Islamic regime because they still support the Islamic Revolution of 1979, right? So a lot of the opposition is fake opposition because they still want an Islamic Republic, even if they don't like Khamenei or Khomeini. And the best way to test whether somebody belongs into one of these groups even if they're opposition, is to ask their opinion about two things. Two things. You have to ask their opinion about Pahlavi, and you have to ask their opinion about Israel. This is what we call it, the Pahlavi test and the Israel test. If they are anti-Pahlavi or anti-Israel, we do not trust them. If you want to make sure that somebody within the opposition is still not one of these Panjo Hafti, one of the people who might still support Khomeini or the Islamic Revolution in 1979. And again, some of these people might not even be Islamists. They might be just Marxists or woke leftists, okay, who still support the 1979 Islamic Revolution, who think Khomeini just ruined it, okay? If you just ask them what they think about Pahlavi and Israel, and they support Pahlavi and they support Israel, it's safe to say that they're not one of the Panjo Haftis. I just gave you the formula for you to recognize who's the true opposition. So these other people, they're just reformers. And remember, guys, we do not trust the reformers in Iran. They're worse than the hardliners. And the bloody Aban that happened in Iran, where 1,500 Iranians were killed by the regime when they were protesting, and that happened when the internet was cut, so that's why it wasn't amplified on media, and most of you haven't heard about bloody Aban. That happened when a reformist government was in power. Rouhani was in power. So some of the greatest crimes against the Iranian people happened when the reformists were in power. All right. So thank you for the super chat. And also Delta here with another super chat saying, should Israel airdrop guns to the Iranian people? I don't know how they would do that without the IRGC basically getting there. I don't know. That might be a solution. I don't know. I have to think about it. What do you guys think? The thing is, how would you manage that? How do you make sure that gets to the hands of Iranian people, especially with with the internet being shut down right now? How do you make sure that the IRGC doesn't go and get those weapons before the Iranian people manage to get to it first? So I don't know. I have to think about it. What do you guys think? Right. Yeah, so Delta in the chat saying, I know it would be hard, but maybe Mossad can activate people. I think in a special where you find specific people that you trust. I mean, technically, the Mossad agents in Iran are Iranians already, right? So when people talk about Mossad, like Israeli commandos in Iran and Israeli spies and Mossad agents in Iran, you guys know that these are basically Iranians, right? Iranians who have turned against the regime and are just helping Israel, because it's very hard for somebody who is basically doesn't look Iranian, who doesn't speak Persian and just like a native, to just live in Iran and just be continue to be a Mossad agent. So when we're talking about Mossad agents in Iran, we're basically talking about Iranians in Iran who are now working for Mossad. So technically, that is already happening. By the way, thank you for your service, all the Mossad agents, Iranian Mossad agents in Iran. These are heroes that are risking everything to free their country. Oh, look at this idiot in the chat is saying, hold on, where is it? Somebody saying they are called traitors. No, you idiots, they're not called traitors. They're called heroes. How could they be traitors? The regime in Iran doesn't represent the Iranian people. Like how dumb do you have to be to think that? Like for you to think that, you have to think that the regime is actually of the people, for the people in Iran. And for you to believe that, you must be the dumbest motherfucker ever. Right. Andrew with a super chat here saying, Armin, how would you respond to people calling Israel hypocritical for condemning the hospital bombing in Beersheba? Am I pronouncing it right? Well, having bombed 20 hospitals in Gaza, any concrete evidence Hamas was inside? Yes, because it's so different. It's so different. First of all, the type of weaponry that was used by the Iranian by the regime in Iran to target to when it comes to Tel Aviv and Israel, they're blind. They are designed to just cause maximum damage without it being targeted. That's exactly the type of weapon that they're using. However, when it comes to the hospitals in Gaza, the missiles are the type of weaponry that is used is for precision targeting, and we have absolute evidence that civilian facilities, including hospitals, are used as a base of operations for Hamas. We know that doesn't happen with hospitals in Tel Aviv. We know that. And we also know that Israel mostly targets militant, whenever there's a militant target, Israel goes for those, and it only targets hospitals or other places where civilians are when there's a very important military target there that they cannot allow to escape. And then there's collateral damage. And again, whenever they do that, they go out of their way to try to reduce civilian casualties, right? However, when it comes to the regime in Iran, they're not even trying to hit military targets in Israel. Do you guys understand how insane that is? So the regime in Iran has skipped altogether trying to target military targets in Israel. So see the difference? Israel goes after military targets in Gaza, and sometimes they are forced to also target other places when there is an important terrorist assets that they need to neutralize in a hospital and somewhere else. That's a side thing they do. But the regime in Iran, when it comes to attacking Israel, they just straight went to civilian targets. They're right now they're targeting the most populated dense areas in Tel Aviv, and they're just going straight to that, which is, some people might find this odd because you think, like, why wouldn't you at least try to target the military sites, given that that's where you're being attacked from? Like, even if you're evil, if you are trying to basically focus on your own survival, the air bases that Israel is using right now to target you, shouldn't you be focusing on those first instead of trying to get maximum civilian casualties right now from the most populated areas in Tel Aviv? Like, why would you just go straight to that instead of doing that as a side thing and first focus on the military targets in Israel? And I heard some different explanations for why this is happening. I heard one analyst, which I really like, but I disagree with him on maybe a little bit on here. Murad Vaisi, which is an analyst I follow, he said that the reason why the regime in Iran is doing that, the Islamic Republic is doing that, is probably to try to put a lot of pressure on the Israeli people, and then get the Israeli people to turn against their government to stop the war. That's the main reason. That's why I was asking Roy. I messaged Roy on Telegram. How are you guys feeling? Are you optimistic about what your government is doing or not? And guys, if there are Israelis in the chat, let me know how your morale is. Like, are you is the civilian casualties in Israel right now making you want to pressure the government, your government, against this attack on Islamic Republic, or are you still are the morals high? Are you optimistic? What do you guys think? So that was what Murad Vaisi was suggesting is the reason why they're doing this. However, I personally think that there's two reasons. One, this is my again, Murad Vaisi is a better analyst than I am, so I do not. Maybe I'm wrong and he's right, but my analysis is that the military sites are harder for the regime to target. One, because basically these blind bombs that they throw at the population dense area, they don't have to be very precise. They just hope that it hits some civilians and gets a lot of casualties. So it might be easier for them to produce some results when they hit high populated high population areas. But also the second, and this is important, the second reason why the regime in Iran is focusing on getting more civilian casualties than trying to take out military assets is because they need pictures right now for their base. They need destruction. The propaganda war is very important right now for the Iranian regime, for the regime in Iran, because their survival depends on it. Right now, the regime in Iran is very desperate to show to its remaining supporters that they're winning this war. And guys, I'm following a lot of regime supporters on social media, and they truly believe that Israel is being absolutely decimated, and the regime in Iran is winning this war, and that Israel is about to collapse any minute now. They think that they have flattened Tel Aviv, and they made it like Gaza right now. They think like, oh look, Tel Aviv has turned into Gaza, right? They truly believe that. They think like, I think last time I checked, they think they have taken out the six F-35s by now, and they have captured, I think, 2 or 3 female. They emphasize. Oh no, get this. They they think, the regime supporters, they think that they have arrested 2 female pilots by from Israel, and 1 male pilot who landed in Ghazvin. And it's interesting that they decided that the male pilot was, they captured him in Ghazvin. For Ghazvin, they made him male. Again, I'm not going to explain why they made, for the city of Ghazvin, they made the pilot male, but I'm not going to, like, for people who know, they know. Yeah, some people are laughing in the chat. It's very, guys, isn't it interesting? Like, Iranians in the chat, isn't it weird that they say like, oh, we captured 1 female pilot. Oh, we captured another female pilot. Oh, a pilot landed in. We captured another pilot that crashed, and this one that was in Ghazvin was male. I mean, imagine like, so for people who don't know, there's a stereotype of the city of Ghazvin. For, again, this is a stereotype. Again, it's not based on reality, but they say that people in Ghazvin, they're gay. And not in a positive way. Like, there's a lot of negative stereotypes about, they are basically out of control. So basically, they're suggest again, I do not condone all these stereotypes, but they basically suggesting that the reason why they made the pilot that they captured in Ghazvin male is because they're suggesting that all of this is sexual. So when they capture, the reason why they act like the pilots that they captured is female is because they want their pro-regime supporters to think, oh, we got a female, like we captured a female pilot and now she's being raped or whatever, right? So when they make him male, when they capture him in Ghazvin. So again, it's all sexual again. Again, I'm not going to get more into that. It's so weird. It's so bizarre. These people, this Islamic mindset is a very weird mindset, right? But what was I getting at? Like, I was trying to explain something. Hold on, let me see the super chat. That was this about. Oh yeah, so I was trying to explain why they are why they are focusing on getting maximum civilian casualties, and because they need the regime supporters to think that their regime is winning. So by getting images of destruction from Tel Aviv, a lot of the regime supporters are basically loving that. They want those images. and that will, at this critical moment, if the regime supporters think that the regime is being humiliated, they might stop supporting the regime, and that will lead to a collapse of the regime itself. So they're hitting the civilian sites because the images from the destruction of Tel Aviv looks a lot more. It's basically, I don't know, destruction porn for their followers, and they need content like that. They were trying to use AI generated images to try to show that they're winning, but those are so too obvious. Like you saw that if the image of the F-35 that they created to with AI to try to suggest that they taken down some F-35s, and that was so insane because the proportions were not right. The F-35 was like looked humongous, like it was too big to be an F-35. So that was insane. But and also if they target military sites, they're not going to have images, like they're going to be a hole somewhere. It's going to be small. It's not going to be as um it's not going to satisfy the regime supporters. Seeing Tel Aviv, seeing big buildings in Tel Aviv destroyed is going to satisfy a lot of regime supporters, and they need those imagery. That's my theory for why they're basically just going straight to civilian casualties instead of targeting military sites. Also, Jacob just became a member. Guys, becoming a member is one of the best ways to support this channel. So thank you so much for anybody who's a member and continues to be a member. I really appreciate that. Okay. So we're already above an hour. Let me know, guys, in the comments and in the chat if you find these live streams helpful. I think I'm providing you with a lot of information that you're not getting in other places. So I myself, I think these live streams are very, very useful and very, very helpful. But I need you guys to confirm that in the comment section after the stream is over, so I know if I'm going in the right direction. Yeah. Okay. So John is saying, "I love this stuff." Yeah, I don't like a lot of the information I'm giving you. You're not going to get it in other places. So I'm very proud of the streams that I'm doing right now. Yeah. Okay. Very helpful. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, we got another super chat. Thank you. Jacob saying Arab love for Iran peaked at hospital hit. Arab love for Iran peaked. Really? Okay. So are you saying that a lot of Arabs wait for Iran or for the regime? I don't understand what you mean. You're saying that there are many. Are you suggesting that there were many Arabs that uh, supported the regime a lot when they got when they hit the hospital? That's insane. I saw it positively first, but then I realized what you're saying, and that's horrible. What the hell? I don't know what you're saying. I hope that's not true. That's evil. Jacob saying, I've never seen Arabs love Iran more. Okay, so first of all, let's not general. If you're saying that Arabs are loving the regime, because the regime is not Iran, okay? So if you're saying Arabs are love the regime, so let's not generalize all Arabs. There are many Arabs that are supporting the Iranian people and Reza Pahlavi as well. But if you're saying that there are many Muslims who are supporting the regime because they hit the hospital, yeah, I can believe that. That's horrible, and that's horrible. Delta saying, yes, always great to hear from you, Armin. Oh, fantastic. Thank you. That gives me a lot of energy. All right, guys. Yes, there's a lot of hate against Israel in the chat, and Yoda is telling your hate is fuel. Exactly. Keep them coming. We love you, haters here. Just keep coming here. It just gives us more energy. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. Make sure you like the stream. Make sure you share these live streams to more people, because I think the information there here is very important for more people to see. I'm going to try to do a lot more streams. Oh, yeah. Okay. The more, this is a good clarification. Thank you for the super chat. The pro Pali Arabs, I mean, which is 90%. I don't know the percentages, but I know it's high. Yes. Okay. So I'm glad that you clarified that. I appreciate that. And thank you for the super chat. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. Thank you, everybody, for support. If you want to support this channel, other than liking the stream and leaving a comment and subscribing, please also consider becoming a member. Your memberships are basically the reason why we get to continue what we're doing. So really grateful for anybody who becomes a member. I'm gonna head out and love you guys, and till next stream. Bye.